Sony are absolutely dominating the console war. Sony are absolutely dominating the console war. What the
How you doing?
console war?
This is good.
War. It's war, goddammit. You could say Microsoft are having a pretty tough time of it during this console generation. Sony keep boasting about how good their figures are, but Microsoft, they're all quiet on that front. Sony like to brag about their upcoming exclusives, whereas Microsoft, they're cancelling theirs. Sony are absolutely dominating the console war currently, and now these figures back that up.
At the Taipei Game Show this week, Sony unveiled that software sales for the PS4 have exceeded 400 million units. This means for every PS4 sold, there is an average attach rate of 7.5 games. This is higher than both the PS2 and the Nintendo Wii, the two best-selling consoles of all time. According to VG247, when the PS2 sold 50 million units, the console had achieved 308 million units of software sold. This meant the PS2 had an average attach rate of just 6.2 games per console sold. As for the Wii U, the average attach rate was 7.1 games per console sold. So Sony...
Sorry.
Beautifully timed as well.
Nice.
So Sony are selling more PS4 games than the most successful consoles ever.
But why are Sony so far ahead of the curve? Well, here are a few reasons. Firstly, Sony have more worthwhile exclusives on the PS4 than Microsoft does on the Xbox One.
On top of this, Sony have the more powerful console. It's just a fact. Games often run slightly better on the PS4 and at higher resolutions than they do on the Xbox One. For example, EA recently revealed that Mass Effect Andromeda will run at 1080p on the PS4, but only 900p on the Xbox One. That's like 180p less.
All those P's.
The only P that matters, PC.
Yeah.
God, that was lame. Some of you watching this may not care about stuff like that, but for tech fans where every pixel and frame matters, the PS4 is just the clear choice. And with a PS4 Pro upping the power, Sony currently have the more capable platform. It's possible that Microsoft are still haunted by the initial reception of the Xbox One, where always online DRM and TV functionality were put before actual games. Sony put games first, and to this day they are still cruising off of the goodwill that they had at launch, whereas Microsoft are still busy clawing back ground. What I find really interesting about this is it's called the attach rate, and that's really appropriate because games now, they're attached to us more than ever because you buy them digitally, they're locked to your account a lot of the time. You're encouraged to buy season passes, so you're not going to trade it in or sell it off for maybe a year because you're waiting for that DLC that you've already paid for. You have to wait for that content. So the games are just kind of stuck to us for a lot longer, and that will help the kind of attach rate in a way because the pre-owned market, as a result, is just going to shrink because there's less games circulating, second-hand games, because we've all hung on to them for longer. Either that or we're just buying them digitally. So games are just locked to us for a lot longer now.
As soon as these figures arrived, the very next news cycle, which was the very next day, Phil Spencer tweets from his Twitter account, I just had hands-on with the Xbox. The team are doing a great job, by the way, just to take a little bit of the limelight away from Sony at that point. Just to, we're still here, we're still making consoles, by the way.
Just know the flipping Microsoft marketing division had several meetings to discuss that
almost
tweet.
A meltdown. Quick, do something. You've got to tweet about this.
So why is the PS4's attach rate so high? Why are so many games being bought for every console that's being bought? It is an interesting topic, and there could be a lot of reasons for it. Let us know what you think down in the comments.
And moving on to our next topic of today's show, this is also Microsoft related. A document uploaded to Microsoft's developer portal has given us a quick glimpse at the hardware meant to be powering the Project Scorpio. Digital Foundry report that the GPU on the Scorpio is, on paper, 4.5 times more powerful than the GPU in the current Xbox One.
On the CPU side, the Scorpio will not be as big an upgrade as Microsoft would have liked you to believe. Rather, it looks like it will be the same CPU as the Xbox One, just overclocked. Similar to what Sony did with the PS4 Pro's CPU. The document carries on by suggesting various techniques developers can use to optimize the performance of their games, even suggesting they use checkerboard rendering to achieve a 4K image, exactly like the PS4 Pro renders some of its games. So with all this discussion of techniques about upscaling and efficient rendering, The document suggests the Scorpio may not be the native 4K powerhouse that Microsoft would have liked you to think. In reality, it may be more on par with the PS4 Pro. We've got to remember though that this is not confirmed information, and we won't know any more until Microsoft officially unveil the Xbox One Scorpio. Until then, we'll just be guessing on whether or not it can deliver on its lofty 4K gaming ambitions.
So next up in the news this week, a Swedish electronic retailer has revealed they already have more pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch than they had sales for the PS4 at launch. The retailer Webhallen Sverige also said the first shipment for March has sold out completely, but they're still recommending people to stand outside and wait in line on the night of release in case they receive more stock. Really?
That is bad.
So with more reports about the Nintendo Switch selling out of pre-orders, concerns about the Nintendo Switch may well be unfounded. Do you think this is the year that Nintendo make a comeback? Let us know down below.
Also in the news this week, remember that Resident Evil 7 Collector's Edition we told you about recently? The one that didn't even come with a game? The Resident Evil 7 Collector's Edition came with an art book, a USB flash drive, some DLC, and a replica of the mansion setting from the game itself, although hilariously did not include a copy of the actual game. All this cost a total of £100. But again, it did not include a copy of the game. However, when the collector's editions arrived at Game UK's warehouse, the mansion replicas tragically were all broken and they could not be sold to consumers. Game refunded all orders and added an extra £10 store credit.
That's how tatty these things were. They didn't even make the journey between the manufacturing point and the stores, so dodged a bullet on that one, I think.
Yeah, dodged the bullet and learned a lesson, hopefully.
I kind of want them to deliver the tat in like the broken mess that it is, just to teach them a lesson. Next up in esports news, ESPN have just published a report on how much money can be made from gambling on Counter-Strike. ESPN reported around $5 billion was made from gambling on Valve's multiplayer shooter. $5 billion. The report states 40% of the $5 billion was made from placing bets on esports matches, and another $3 billion being spent on weapon skins to use for bets and trades.
What is the deal with weapon skins? Who uses or cares about weapon skins? How have they got value?
It's just gambling though, isn't it? Regardless of what it is gambling, it's people trying to make, trying to increase their value by using this gambling mechanism. This illegal practice of probably kids who aren't even old enough to gamble in the first place, learning their lifetime traits of gambling right here online using Counter-Strike. So well done to Counter-Strike and Valve for not putting an end to this sooner, but apparently they have now.
Yeah, that's dodgy as shit when you frame it like that. It's fucking bad. And finally this week, Hideo Kojima has been a busy man recently and there's a lot of things to tell you about. In an interview with Radio 1 Newsbeat in the UK, Hideo Kojima had some interesting revelations to share on his thoughts for the future of media consumption. He said one day all media will converge into a single format with movies, games and books all merging into one. Kojima envisions a future where movies will be playable and you can choose whether to sit back and watch or take part in the experience yourself, depending on how you feel.
Which is great news for fans of pornography.
The fact that Kojima believes video games and movies will be the same thing one day should be of no surprise to anyone who's bothered playing Metal Gear Solid before. Hideo Kojima is currently putting all of his effort into the development of PS4 exclusive Death Stranding, which we still basically have no idea about. One thing we do know though is that Mads Mikkelsen is in it, and Hideo Kojima sure does love tweeting some tasteful photos of Mads Mikkelsen. He's tweeting all these photos of like him just like smoking on a barge in like black and white. Really? Yes. I mean, they're cool photos. I guess they're cool photos. Mads Mikkelsen is a cool dude, but there is a lot of photos.
Is it a questionable amount of photos?
It's not questionable. It's notable. It's worthy
it's
of
notable.
checking
That's
out.
diplomatic speak if ever I heard it. It's that time of week again. This is the Saturday show. It's time to read some of your comments.
First up, Mental Playground commented on our Why Games Are Getting Worse video. Too much graphics eye candy, not enough story. Hollywood style.
Hollywood style.
Yeah, you know what? You're probably onto something there. There's a lot of Hollywoodization of a lot of games, a lot of spectacle, a lot of look at these pretty graphics.
So Hideo Kojima's right all along.
Yeah, he was right.
All these genres are merging. Next up, Jose Barbosa comments on the Resident Evil 7 video we made. If you're waiting for the game to be over by the end, it's not a fucking 8 out of 10. I think I made the point in reply to him that these reviewers that rush their reviews out, who have to sit there for 10 hours in a day to play the game solid, they're going to get bored by the game. So
that's the difference, isn't it?
What does that say about like the review industry these days, like gaming media in general, where people are forced to sit in rooms to play their games, and so much so that they get bored?
Consume it in a different way to a lot of us. I mean, a lot of people will sit there and hammer it for 10 hours. Not most of us, not all of us. Sebastian G commented on our Dream Team video. I like Dying Light much more than The Witcher 3. Get out.
Next up, Genghis John comments on our Battleborn video. Sadly, unlike Colonial Marines and Duke Nukem Forever, Battleborn is actually pretty good.
That is the great irony of this story, because Battleborn, by all accounts, I haven't played it, is decent and it got good reviews. Yet it's the one that suffers. Whereas Colonial Marines sold shitloads, and even though it was an absolute critical bomb, was a commercial success pretty much. They made tons of money. So did Duke Nukem Forever. You're right, it is annoying that Battleborn isn't selling as well as two very considerably worse games than it. Thanks a lot for watching this week's Saturday show, guys. Is there anything in the news that we missed? Anything that you want to talk about? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. Please check out more of our content here. We'll see you next time.